drowning in conflict. An even darker presence slipped unnoticed through busy streets, bus terminals, and rural pathways. A man who blended into the chaos around him, hiding a level of evil few could imagine. His name was Luis Alfredo Garavito. To the world he became La Bestia, the Beast. Before his reign was over, he would be known as one of the most prolific and monstrous serial killers in modern history. This is the story of how he rose, how he hunted, and how he was finally stopped. Chapter 1. A Broken Beginning. Luis Alfredo was born on January 25, 1957, in the small Colombian town of Genova. His childhood was marked by poverty, neglect, and relentless violence. His home was a place of fear, riddled with abuse, humiliation, and trauma. He grew up in a world without safety, a world where pain became routine and cruelty became normal. As a teenager, Garavito drifted through life, drinking heavily, lashing out in anger, and struggling to control the impulses that haunted him. But beneath his unstable exterior, he learned something dangerous: how to pretend, how to smile, how to seem harmless. And soon those lessons would become the tools of a predator. Chapter 2. A Nation in Chaos. To understand how Luis Garavito operated undetected for so long, you have to understand Colombia in the 1980s and 90s. It was a country consumed by chaos, drug cartels, guerrilla warfare, kidnappings, assassinations. Violence was everywhere. Fear was constant. The authorities were overwhelmed, and in the middle of this storm were thousands of vulnerable children. Many were homeless, living on the streets, or drifting between bus stations and markets without protection. To a predator, they were invisible. To the world, they were forgotten. Garavito realized no one was watching these boys, and he exploited that darkness with terrifying precision. Chapter 3. The Method of a Monster. Garavito did not improvise. He planned. He traveled constantly, drifting from one city to the next, by bus, on foot, hitchhiking, never staying long enough for anyone to suspect him. He used disguises: a priest, a teacher, a charity worker, a street vendor, a disabled man. Each persona carefully chosen to disarm suspicion and attract trust. He searched for young boys, often between 6 and 16, and approached them with gifts, food, or promises of work. He spoke gently, acted kindly, and made himself seem like a friend. Once he earned their trust, he led them away from crowds, down remote paths, into open fields or dense brush, isolated places where no one would hear and no one would interrupt. There, the darkness inside him was unleashed. What happened in those places was horrific beyond words. Investigators later admitted they had never seen crime scenes so brutal. And when he was finished, Garavito left, cold, calm, and ready to do it again. Chapter 4. The bodies are found. Throughout the mid-1990s, bodies of young boys began appearing across Colombia. In fields, forests, and hillsides. Many were assumed to be casualties of the country's violent conflicts. But in 1997, a discovery outside the city of Pereira changed everything. Investigators uncovered several graves, all containing boys of similar ages, all murdered in nearly identical ways. One detective noticed a disturbing pattern. The bindings were the same. The injuries were the same. The victims fit the same profile. This wasn't war. This wasn't random. This was the work of one man, a serial killer unlike anything Colombia had ever faced. Chapter 5. The Hunt for Garavito. The investigation intensified. Police searched for anything, any clue that could identify the killer. Then a simple oversight cracked the case. A pair of broken eyeglasses found near one of the bodies. The prescription was extremely rare. Optometrists narrowed it down to a handful of people. One name stood out: Luis Alfredo Garavito. Detectives soon uncovered witness after witness, street vendors, bus drivers, caretakers. All described seeing a thin, mustached man with young boys shortly before they vanished. The net tightened, and in 1999 Garavito was arrested. When confronted with the evidence, he confessed, not with emotion, not with remorse, but with chilling calm. He admitted to killing 140 boys. Later, he suggested the number was even higher, possibly 300 or more. Colombia had finally caught its monster. Chapter 6. Justice, or something else. The world expected the harshest punishment imaginable. But Colombia's legal system wasn't prepared for a man like Garavito. There was no death penalty. There was no true life sentence. Despite the unimaginable scale of his crimes, he received a maximum sentence of 40 years, reduced even further for cooperation and good behavior. The public was outraged, laws were changed, penalties increased, protections strengthened. But many of these reforms could not be applied retroactively. For years, Colombians feared Garavito might one day walk free. But fate intervened. On October 12, 2023, Luis Alfredo Garavito died in prison from cancer. His reign of terror ended exactly where it belonged. Final chapter. Legacy of La Bestia. Luis Alfredo Garavito remains a symbol of how darkness can hide in plain sight, how a single predator can exploit a broken system, and how vulnerable children can become invisible in a world consumed by chaos. But his story also sparked change, real change, in law enforcement, sentencing, and child protection across Colombia. Today, he is remembered not for who he was, but as a reminder. Evil can walk among us, but so can the people determined to stop it.